Today is Sunday, November 22, 2020, and I'm Jacqueline Jacobsman. I'm interviewing my grandma, Trudy. So, this is going to be a fun afternoon. We're going to have a good time, Grandma.
I'm Trudy Houston. I was born January 9, 1941, to Pete and Ann Koima, and they named me Gertrude Lorraine. And they named me Gertrude because my grandma de Boer's name was Gertrude, and I had to be named after my grandma. My sister, who was born after me, was named after my grandma Koima, and her name was Mary. And so she was named Marlene, and I always was so jealous of her because I was wishing I had such a pretty name like Marlene instead of Gertrude. I
So what
kept.
where do you fall in line?
I had an older brother, Siebert. Siebert is 3 years older than I am, 3.5. And then I'm second, and my sister Marlene is 5 years younger than me. But during that time, my mother had some very serious health issues. She had, in those days, they called it goiter. So she was in Rochester for 6 weeks and surgeries, and in those days that was a very serious thing. And so there was this break in their family, 5.5 years between me and my sister Marlene. And then they had 3 others in quite close. There was my brother Ken, born just 2 years after Marlene, I guess, and then my brother Don, a couple years later, and then Harlan is my youngest brother.
Baby brother.
Baby brother.
How many years younger is he than you?
6. He was born in 1952,
So 11,
and
10.
I was born in 41, so 11, 12.
Like me and Brooke.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I had 3 between
Yeah,
there.
that's true.
And, yeah. Well,
That's true.
and so I was Gertrude through all my growing up years, college, high school, college. Everybody knew me as Gert until I got to teaching in Peoria, Iowa, and I had this friend who I lived with, and she was a very blunt person. She said just what she thought, and so we were just kind of acquainted. You know, a couple of nights we were sitting there with our family who we lived with and got to talking about names, and well, my name was Gertrude, and Gert, you know, they called me Gert, and oh, she said, I really don't like that name. She said, can't we call you something else? And so they thought, well, yeah, let's, and then we lived with the family in those days, you know, back. Well, yeah, let's call her Trudy.
And you're so willing to give up your name that you had lived for 20 years.
But remember, I didn't like it very much.
Okay.
I mean, let's face it, Gertrude, it's not the prettiest name in the world.
I can see why you didn't name your daughters Gertrude.
And so I was living away from home. They called me Trudy from that day on.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody at home knew me as Gert. So I can't really remember if all of a sudden I said to him, if I told him my name was now Trudy, I can't remember just how that went, but they kind of, they changed over, and, you know, my family called me Trudy. When I met Ben, which was an advantage because he didn't know me as Gert, and his whole family, all the Huskins, did not know me as Gert or Gertrude. So when I introduced myself to them, I was just Trudy. Then. The kids who I went to high school with, older, like my older uncles and aunts, they never really changed over because they knew me as Gert, and so they kind of Gertrude. So,
Yeah.
so
that's the story of your name.
That's the story of my name.
Yeah. Well, let's keep talking about your childhood. You grew up on a farm outside of Rock Valley. Where around? South,
just
west?
Mile west. We always said a mile west and a mile and a half south.
Okay.
It's I always thought it was a lovely place to grow up. I loved living on the farm, and I always thought when I get married, I'm going to live on the farm because I thought there was no place like the farm.
That's all you knew. So what was your favorite thing too? Did you have chores you had to do? Or
Not
not
really.
because you were a girl.
Not really. I do not. I mean, when I looked at these questions, chores.
You
I
picked
just.
it. You got eggs.
I
from the
know. I
chickens, right?
tried. I tried picking the eggs, but I guess in that way I wasn't a very good farm girl.
No.
And I never had to drive the tractor. My brothers, they were a little bit younger than I, but they did all the work like that. I did try picking the eggs. I had to clean the eggs.
Oh.
Oh yes, I cleaned many eggs.
How do you clean an egg?
Oh, you got these buckets of eggs, and I sat in the basement by the big egg cases. We had to put them in these egg cases, which held how many dozen eggs? Each flat, I think, held 3 dozen eggs, I suppose. But they all had to be clean.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you know, the chicken will poop on them, or an egg will break, and so there's egg yolk over them.
Mm-hmm.
And so they all had to be nice and clean and put in the case.
Yeah.
That was, and I did a lot of gardening for my mom.
Oh.
I liked being outside, and I
Okay.
liked planting her flowers and weeding in the garden and picking the produce. And I did a lot of help. I helped her in the house a lot.
Yeah,
I
you
was,
were a good helper.
yes, I was a good helper.
You helped with laundry.
I mean,
and,
cleaning, laundry, hanging clothes. Of course, everything went on the line in those days. It still goes on the line. I still like to hang my clothes on the line.
Yeah.
But ironing, you know, I did a lot more.
Do you ever remember complaining about doing those things, or did you like them?
Yeah, I'm sure I did.
Yeah.
Like I didn't like cleaning those eggs very much, and
Right.
and just a lot of the mundane things. Cleaning, I did a lot of cleaning upstairs, downstairs. Yeah, those were kind of my. And I think when I got married one summer and Marlene got married the next summer, so then my mom felt like we both. I was 26 when I got married. Marlene was a little younger, of course, because she was that much younger than me. But it seemed like my mom lost both her helpers in 2 years, and so it was kind of hard on her. Yeah, mom was not a strong person.
No.
My mother was. No, she was just kind of sickly. She had a lot of health issues. And she, I hate to say this, but she was kind of a complainer. She complained, whereas my dad was much more upbeat. He was just, yeah, much more of a.
You're a lot like your dad.
That's what they say. I think I am. I like to be positive, and he did have a quick temper. That's one thing
Okay.
about my dad. He could, kind of like Heidi. Heidi's that way, you know. Could just things could set him off, and he would just be so angry. Whereas mom was much more even-tempered that way, you know. But yeah, they were good parents. I loved them both, and I think there's a question about. Did you have another about learning about Jesus? You know.
Yeah.
So when you think
Yeah.
about that, in those days, you know, I think parents now are much more, you know, I'm not sure. I thought, when did I hear them tell me about Jesus? I don't know.
I think a lot of people feel that way, though.
Yeah, I think in those days they were much more quiet about their faith. We had catechism questions, which we faithfully had to answer, you know, and they would, you know, sit down and make sure we knew our catechism. And but I can't ever remember that they said, "Oh, now do you know what this means? You know, just think about this." And you know, we like to tell our kids, think about it. Just think what Jesus did for us, you know, and think about some of these stories. And I don't really, and yet you know their faith was very strong. It was just that in those days, they're much more quiet about their faith.
Yep. Yeah.
So.
How about school? Grade school, high school. You always liked school? Or was there ever a time that you just didn't really enjoy it?
Let's see, what would I say about school?
So you attended
School
Rock Valley
was
Christian.
Rock Valley Christian. Of course, no kindergarten, went right into first grade.
Were you excited? Like,
You know,
You don't remember?
it just kind of seemed like something we had to do.
Yeah.
You went to school. I know that from those days when we didn't have school because of a snowstorm, we were just like kids today. We were happy about that.
Yeah.
As far as just being in school, I have quite a few memories of the different teachers, and I think I always, you know, we did all of our work in school. We didn't take much home, and it was all just very basic, you know. We didn't have all the extra things that they have today. We just sat in the classroom and did our work. And
Do you have a favorite teacher that you can remember?
My first grade teacher was Miss Riedema. She was a sweet lady. And then I think I said in this book, I should show Lauren this book. She probably would. I said my second grade teacher was memorable because of who I didn't have, because our class was split, second grade, and in the one room they had the first graders and half the second grade, and my room was the other half, the second grade and the third grade. Well, Esther Klavinga, she was Miss Vandenbosch at that time. She just died a few years ago. I don't know if you know her at all, probably not. Lifelong teacher, really. She taught that first grade and second. And she was everybody just talked, oh, Miss Vandenbosch, such a nice teacher. And I was in the other second grade, and I just felt kind of bad that I didn't have her, because mine was Miss Ellen Boss. She was okay. And then fourth grade, I had a really nice teacher too. Was it fourth grade? She was Miss Mint Hall. And she happens to be Ron and Marlene, Ron's aunt, and I think she's still living in Denver.
Okay.
She was Jackie Mint Hall. And she was just a sweet teacher. I liked her.
Yeah.
And then
So, did you ride the bus to school every day? Or did you get your grandpa?
we rode the bus, and we would wait for the bus to come, and we could sometimes see it, make different what route it was going. If we could see it come on the other mile across the section, we'd say, oh, there's the bus, you know, so we knew it just had to come around to us. And then, you know, it would change routes, and after, well, if you got on first in the morning, you'd probably get off last at night, something like that. Anyway, the morning, you know, you either had to ride the whole route in the morning, and we lived close to town, so we either got we either had to ride the whole route in the morning or in the evening. But then sometimes we would, the mile west of town, and there was a gravel road that we turned onto our place, and we'd get off the bus there and walk the mile and a half home.
Oh, walk a mile and a half?
Yeah, unless somebody would come to pick us up.
Wow.
And then sometimes my dad would be waiting for us.
Okay.
Sometime they would know we were going to be walking, so you'd come along, and sometimes strangers would pick us up, or neighbors.
Totally normal.
Yeah.
Did you wear a dress every day?
Yeah.
All through grade school and
All
high
through
school?
grade school and high school.
Okay.
Always a dress.
Did you ever think, wow, I don't want to wear a dress every single
No,
day?
because
Even in
there
the
was-
winter?
Yeah, well, we were kind of stockings.
Okay.
I think stockings more than a pants. You know, something to keep our legs warm.
Yeah.
But no, it was just, we didn't know any better.
Right.
I mean, that's what. And then should I tell you the story of I told you the story of the dress, didn't I?
I don't know.
Right. I'm sure you heard it, because I think the girls feel kind of bad when I tell it, because I mean, we didn't have any clothes going to school. Not like I see my granddaughters now with their closets so packed full that there's not room for any more clothes.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's really, well, when I was in second grade, I had this little corduroy blue skirt. It was kind of a cute little skirt, I think. It was corduroy. I'm not sure, when my mom washed it, it probably didn't show dirt too easily. And I had two different shirts that I wore with it that matched it.
Yep.
You remember this story now, don't you?
No, I don't.
Oh.
Just keep going.
And so I wore that little skirt every day to school. And then for our spelling spelling test one time. The teacher said the word was dress, and so she used it in a sentence. She wears the same dress. And the kids around me pointed at me.
Oh.
Wasn't that sad?
Yeah, that's mean.
When my daughter's here, and I think they could almost cry because they think that's so. But I maybe felt bad, but I was second grade, yeah, and I don't remember if I went home and told my mom I needed another dress because, but yeah, we just didn't have that many clothes. We were quite content, and that's the way it was. I'm sure nobody in those days had a lot of different dresses, but they probably had a few more than I did. So I know my mom, that's one thing I know one time she was kind of apologetic to me. She said she felt kind of bad that I didn't have, even when I went to teach out in Peoria, and she said one time, she said, I feel kind of bad. I don't think you had enough clothes. I know she just kind of seemed that she was thinking that maybe she didn't. Marlene was different. Marlene was a little more bold that way, and she kind of liked nicer clothes, and I always told her she got nicer clothes than I did. So, high school.
Were you in any activities? Did you play any sports? Were
No.
Female sports?
Well, then I was going to tell you too about grade school. From the time I started first grade to 8th grade, I had the same principal. He came when I started first grade, and he left after I graduated from 8th grade.
What was his name?
And he was John Labus.
Okay.
And he was mean old man.
Yep.
I mean, he was very grouchy, and I mean, he just had this name of being just, he always had a scowl, you know. And I never, of course, I was a good girl, so he never had to, but there were some naughty kids in school. And the word was that he had to stick up his sleeve, and he would pull it out every once in a while when he had to whack somebody, and they got waxed with it too, I'm sure. And then, of course, we always had, there was that old building that had this old kind of cruddy basement of the school, and that's where we ate our noon lunch. All the student body, all the kids in school would gather in this kind of run-down basement. We brought our own lunch. Gather here and sit on these wooden benches, eating our lunch, and Mr. Labus stood at the front, and he just stood there eating his sandwich and making sure everybody was in line. But he was just, he was kind of a mean old man. He maybe wasn't, but that's the way he appeared to us.
So 8th grade.
8th grade, and then 9th grade, Rock Valley Christian had 9th grade. We went to 9th grade.
And that was because Western was too big?
Well, it wasn't too big. For some reason, the grade schools had decided that they were all going to add a 9th and 10th grade. But Rock Valley was the only one who did.
Oh.
So for several years, we had 9th grade and 10th grade in Rock Valley. None of the other schools did. So when I graduated from 8th grade, then it was just understood that I would go to 9th grade. By that time, they had quit the 10th grade, so it was just 9th grade. But my whole class didn't go. Some went to Western. And I know we still talk about that. I said, I don't remember. You would think that as 8th graders, we would have said, are you going to Western? Well, no, I have to go here. Are you know, it seemed like there would have been some division, but I don't remember the kids who went to Western. I can't remember that we thought, oh, good, they're going there and we have to stay here. But then it was just 9th grade. But then we had this new principal, Peter Bauma. Oh, he was just a breath of fresh air. I never knew that principals could be so fun. I mean, he was just always smiling and happy, and he taught us to play basketball. Ooh. And I said, from somebody who hardly knew how to bounce a basketball, he almost made a star out of me. I was a pretty decent basketball player when I was in the 9th grade.
Yeah. Was it the 6-on-6 Okay.
Yeah. So he
did
taught
you
us
were you one of the shooters or one of the defense people?
shooters.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. And then we played some other teams around us,
Yeah.
and yeah, that was fun.
But
I
you
mean,
didn't keep it up.
but I didn't keep it up. I went to Western, then
So you go through high school, you graduate what year?
high school, 87.
No.
57.
57.
57. 58. No, 57. Was that?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
57.
So you graduated from Western Christian in either 1957 or 58.
See, 57, 58, 59.
Well, when did you
57.
have
57.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you decided you were going to go to Dort for education. So what made you want to be a
Yes.
teacher?
Well, I really didn't want to be a teacher. I thought when I was in high school, it always looked good to be a secretary. I thought that's what I wanted to do. I took shorthand and I thought, but then everybody was going to Dort.
Mm-hmm.
All my
Which
friends
was
were
very
going
much
to
a
Dort.
teaching school.
It was
And it was
teaching
newer
school.
at the time,
It was
right?
new. When you went to Dort, you went to be a teacher. That was kind of the way it was. I had a statistic one time how many in my graduating class, how many graduated with a teaching degree, and it was like probably 95% of them.
Mm-hmm.
So because I went to Dort, I thought, well, I guess I'll be a teacher.
Oh.
And so I flipped my intentions and became and then
You got your
there was
2-year degree.
2-year degree, because in those days we could teach, or we got our teaching certificate after 2 years.
Mm-hmm. And so then how
So-
did you get the job in Peoria?
Well, I was going to tell you about my college years
Oh,
too,
yes,
because they were, I lived at home,
Mm-hmm.
and I never really felt I got into the college life because I didn't stay, I didn't stay there, and so I wasn't in any activities in Dort, no. In high school, I was in band. You was
Oh,
asking,
yeah,
so I did enjoy
clarinet.
I did enjoy the band in high school. Not that I was so good, but we had fun. We had a nice teacher. Okay, 2 years at Dort. Where should I teach? See, my best friend was teaching already in Peoria,
Okay.
and she went there. We went to Dort together, but then she taught after 1 year. She kind of needed the money, and so she was in Peoria. And so then I don't even remember if I applied or if they just called. I could have gone to Oskaloosa, which would have been a little more money. I think I could have gotten $2,400 there, and in Peoria I got $2,350 or something like that
A year.
a year.
Okay.
And so since my friend Liz was already there, I decided to go to Peoria. Do you know where Peoria is? Not too far from Oskaloosa, because I lived in Oskaloosa then for weekends during that 1 year. We boarded in Peoria with families. The first year, we kind of moved up the hill. We started down here, and then the next year we moved up here, and then the next year we moved up here, and the next year we moved up here. I had 4 different families I lived with.
Didn't one of them feed you rabbit one time?
And that was just a family who invited us for a meal.
Oh, okay.
But
that was in your Peoria days.
that was in my Peoria days, yeah. I can't remember what we paid these other places
Yes.
where we boarded. I just remember the final place was with Otto and Ruth Voss. That was with the girl who changed my name to Trudy. We paid $14 a week. $14 a week to live there.
And did they make you do any cleaning or
She made our meals, made lunches for us every day, did our laundry,
That's a
had our
good
bed.
deal.
$14, $2 a day. Can you believe it? Of course, my salary was
Right.
$2,300.
Right.
But in those days, the dollar went a lot further.
Yes.
But no, we had a good place there. She took really good care of us.
And what grades did you teach?
I had third and fourth
Combined
third and fourth
classroom.
grades. Yeah, those are good years. They were fun years.
Mm-hmm.
And
Do you remember feeling, overwhelmed or stressed out because it was your first teaching job and you were away from home for the first
yes,
time?
I did. I think I must have been such a naive teacher. I can't imagine that. I just wonder if they learned anything. I just, yeah, no, I really went in. I mean, I had a few weeks of practice teaching, but yeah, of course, you just kind of do it as it comes, take a day at a time. But they were fun years, and they were fun people to be with, and it was
How
just
often would you write letters home, or would you call
oh yeah,
home?
wrote a lot of letters. Yeah, I think every week for sure wrote a letter home. And I was kind of homesick. I couldn't wait for, especially that first year, I couldn't wait for we called it Teachers Institute, whatever it is now.
The Heartland
in October,
break.
the Heartland break, and then Thanksgiving, and then Christmas, and Easter break, and I was excited to go home because I was kind of homesick.
So
But
you spent 4 years in Peoria?
4 years in Peoria. My friend taught 2 years, and then she got married. So then I lived with. That's when I lived with June, who changed my name.
And then
Then during that year, I took my junior year in college. I went to some night class at William Penn in Oskaloosa, and every summer I'd go to Westmar in Lamar's and got my junior year in. And then I just decided I wanted to. Dordt was starting their fourth. They were becoming a 4-year college in 1964. So then I taught 4 years in Peoria. Then I decided to go back to school. And so I became one of few people to graduate twice from Dordt. I graduated in 1960 and again in 1964.
Okay.
Well, no, let's see. It would have been in 65. Does that come out? Because I went during the year 64 and 65.
Okay.
That was.
Okay. So then you moved back, and so when you moved from Peoria back to Rock Valley, you were going to school full time that last year?
I lived at home again.
Okay.
Lived at home, and once again, I didn't really get to know many kids in my class.
Right.
When we had our 50-year anniversary a couple years ago, then I know they asked me if I would be kind of on that committee, and I said no, because I said I didn't really have many memories of being there. I went to my class and came home. It wasn't like I got to know the kids who were there. So
So then how did you? Then you taught at Rock Valley Christian.
And I taught at Rock Valley Christian.
So do you remember applying for that job?
Yes,
Did they
I
ask
did,
you?
because I didn't know where I wanted to teach. I really kind of wanted to go to Montana. I heard a lot about Montana. Well, Siebert was there.
Oh.
And I thought that sounded, and Liz and I had wanted to go there at one time, but then, she got married, so that's, and so I really didn't know where I wanted to go. So in those days, they needed teachers quite badly, and Rock Valley needed a couple teachers, so I thought, well, until I decide where I want to go, then I'll just, I'll see if I can get in Rock Valley, and of course, that was easy to do. And so then in the fall of 1965, I started teaching in Rock Valley.
You did. What grade?
That was second and third
Okay. Combined
for
classroom
2
again?
years, part of each.
Okay.
I had just a very small second grade class, and then a half third grade. And I still don't really know why I had half of each class. But I know they had just very few, I think about 10 second graders, and then a few more third graders. And then the last 2 years, I had just second grade.
So this is the time in your life when you met your husband,
Right.
your grandpa.
Yeah.
How did that all turn
It
out?
happened, we had our first date in the spring after I had signed the contract to go to teach in Rock Valley. So he called, and we had heard a little bit about him. I knew he was there.
So he was
And
teaching at Rock Valley
he was
Christian.
teaching, that was his first year at Rock Valley. And he also came from Edgerton and knew my friend Liz up there and her husband. But I guess
he went, so backtrack a little bit. He went to Calvin?
he went to Calvin for one semester.
Yes.
But then he didn't like it.
So then he went to North.
So then he came back, and just the second semester of that year, he just stayed at home,
Yep.
worked in a store.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went to
Northwestern?
Northwestern. No, I think he first went to Worthington Junior College, because,
Okay.
no, wait a minute. Northwestern was only a junior college. So where did he graduate? Oh, no.
I thought he graduated
He
from
graduated, oh
Northwestern.
yeah, he graduated from Northwestern. Because it seems like he
Didn't
went,
he live on campus too? Didn't he live in like Colenbrander?
no, I think he, boy, and I have to ask about that, because it seemed like he did so much driving, but I can't really remember him talking about living in at Northwestern.
Oh.
I'd
I feel
s-
like my mom would know.
Yeah, she probably
She would
would.
know the answer to this.
She probably would.
We'll ask her later.
Yeah, well, ask her.
Yeah. Anyway,
So-
so he graduated from.
He graduated
A
from
college.
Northwestern. I know he graduated from North. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm positive about that. It just seemed that he went some other. I thought he went to Worthington
Maybe.
for that year before he went
That's
on
possible.
to Northwestern. But he graduated from Northwestern, and he was teaching. He started teaching a year before I did then, because he was teaching
And
that
Rock
year
Valley Christian
in
was
Rock
his
Valley
first
Christian.
job?
That was his
Teaching
first
job?
and only job.
Yep.
He always tells about that story too, how just being at a certain place at a certain time.
Yeah,
He
wasn't
had-
he going to take another job?
Yeah, he had applied in Rock Valley, so he had met with the principal, who was Mr. Lance at that time, and a few board members, and they had pretty much offered him a job, but he kind of wanted to go to Washington State.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had also applied there, and he had the contract from,
Do you remember which?
I don't know if it was
Linden?
Linden, maybe, Linden.
Or Mount Vernon, maybe?
So he had this meeting with the school board in Rock Valley, and he had forgotten his jacket in the boardroom. And so he went to school to pick up that jacket and was going to tell him that he was not taking Rock Valley's contract, but he wanted to go to Linden, Washington. And then he went to pick up his jacket. Mr. Lance was there, the principal, and he talked and talked and talked him into coming to Rock Valley. So he changed his mind.
Okay.
Changed his mind and came to Rock Valley Christian instead.
Good thing.
So he said, just, those little
Yeah.
things like that can make
Yeah.
such a difference in how your life goes.
And he taught 5th grade.
5th grade.
That is the only grade he ever taught.
One year they moved him down to 4th, which he did not like very much. He was not happy there. I don't know if he was there 2 years. And then he did have combined grades too at one time, 5th and 6th. But 5th was his main grade.
5th was the
Yeah.
core. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you met. You had the spring
We,
before
yeah,
you started.
I had just signed it was spring of when I was graduated from
Yeah.
Dort. And then he called.
Called your
So
house.
called me at my house.
How did he get your number? You think? A phone book, maybe?
Well, I guess
those
he
existed.
knew who,
He
I
heard
suppose
who
he'd-
Trudy Houston was.
and I was Trudy
Trudy
Coyne, but
Coyne.
and I suppose he could, he probably knew my dad he was on the school board, but I think he kind of, knew
Yep.
about people. And so I suppose he just looked in the telephone book and looked up.
And called?
And then he called me, yeah.
Did
and
you
said he
say
had heard-
who, or did you know
Yeah.
who he was?
Well, I can't quite remember if he said, anyway, he heard that I was going to teach in Rock Valley, and I wondered if maybe we could do something. So we went miniature golfing. We went miniature golfing in Orange City. That was
Wow.
our first date. I can't remember. I've been trying to think I suppose we maybe stopped at a drive-in to eat or something. But anyway, we went miniature golfing. The rest of the summer, I don't think we really saw each other during the summer. Maybe once.
Maybe he went back to Edgerton.
Yeah, he
Okay.
went back to Edgerton, yeah. And then when the school year started, then I really can't remember exactly how that went, if we just kind of started dating right away.
Okay.
Maybe I think during the summer he came and we went to the Dutch festival, in Edgerton had their big celebration. And we may have gone there. Maybe that was the next summer, though, that we
Did you
went
meet?
there.
When did you meet his parents for the first time? His family for the first time?
I suppose it was during that first year of teaching that we went to his house.
Do you remember being nervous?
I was kind of nervous. I was kind of nervous. I can remember they were
'Cause
all
that's a
sitting
big
in
family.
Grandma's living room. Yes, yeah. He had, and of course,
He was
Hein
one
and
of,
Iva.
one of 9 children.
9. Well, Hein and Iva were there. Fred and Betty were there. Jim wasn't married yet. Bill wasn't married yet. Kathy wasn't married yet. It was mainly Hein and Iva's family. And so, yeah, but they were, I know I was so impressed with his mother because his mother was kind of the direct opposite of my mother. She was this homemaker who could put a meal together, just big feast in just no time. It just seemed that she was, I mean, she was a servant. She was a servant heart. She could serve people. And so I just was so impressed. I mean, my mom was much more,
Things stressed her out a lot.
Things stressed her out, very stressed out. Whereas Ben's mother was just the opposite. She was so, she could put these meals together just like nothing. And she was used to, I mean, she had a big family. She always had people over. Whereas my mom, it was a little more, it was, like you said, it was stressed.
So when, how long did you date then? Until when
For
did you get engaged?
we were 2 years.
Oh, that's kind of a long time.
For those 2 years of, I taught second and third grade then, and so we did I guess that's when we started going to basketball games. Oh man, we went to basketball games and we bowled. Those are the 2 things I remember.
In Rock Valley?
Bowled in a lot of times in Sioux Falls, that bowling alley. East Bowl was then at that time. Oh, we did that many, many times. Went to Sioux Falls too. So those are mainly our dates.
Okay.
Bowling. We're going to basketball games. I don't know if we considered basketball
the basketball
games.
games.
I don't know if we considered the basketball games so much our date. I mean, we just.
Spend time in Northwest Iowa.
Yeah,
what else do you do?
Yeah. What else do you do?
Really?
We didn't go to many movies. The first movie I ever went to was Sound of Music.
A good one.
Because, it was a good one. And then we did but we weren't real movie goers. But yeah, we did see Sound of Music as my first movie. I think it was probably his too.
So when did you get engaged? Do you remember the day?
Yes, March. It was in March.
Yep.
And I really can't remember the exact day. We had kind of broken up a little bit before.
I didn't know that.
He, I think he just wondered if, we better be sure. And I can remember being like, really? I mean, we've been going together for 2 years and now you want to break up? And I was just kind of horrified.
I'd be horrified too.
And so I was kind of like, oh man. And so I don't think it was longer than 2 weeks or something. And then, so of course, he had a little Volkswagen. There was a little Volkswagen. And then he called again. Okay, that's good. And I can't even remember where we must have gone to church because it was on a Sunday night. And then we'd always, on the folks' driveway, on the south of the garage, that's where we'd always park when and so we were sitting there, and then, all of a sudden he starts talking, getting married, how's a ring? And I thought,
he had a ring?
He had a ring, yes, he had the ring. And so we got engaged in this little Volkswagen on
That's cute.
my folks' yard on a Sunday evening.
Okay.
Which was a really...
And did they know this was happening? Did your parents
No.
know he was asking you?
Nobody
it was a
knew.
surprise
Nobody
to everyone.
knew. Nobody knew. It was like,
But that was kind of Grandpa. He would just like make decisions and be like,
oh yeah,
okay,
yeah,
this is what's up. So he
we're going to get
probably
married after all. This
He
is we
probably
don't.
thought the day before, like, oh yeah, this is what I'm
I
gonna
have
do.
to go get a ring now because I don't like being I want to get married. So it was just like I think he just wanted to make sure that he didn't have any second thoughts or anything. So it wasn't these big engagement moments that people do nowadays. It was just seeing this little
That's
Volkswagen.
cute, though. And then
and
you
I
got
was-
married soon after,
This
right?
was March. We got married in June. We had 3 months to prepare for the wedding.
That is quick.
That is quick.
in today's.
And you know,
How'd you do it?
I don't know. And I can't
You
remember.
had a dress. You had a nice.
Yeah. I can't remember that my mom's saying, oh, what? We have to plan it. It just all kind of fell into place.
Why did you pick June?
I think we liked June. And we probably wanted to, you know, have a little bit of summer left before school started again.
So June 25.
June 21,
Okay.
June 21.
Oh,
Yeah. And yeah, those. So I had to get a dress. I had to decide
buy
who
it,
my
or did
bride.
someone make it?
I bought it, and decide on the colors for the bridesmaids and who would be the bridesmaids.
which
and
were who? You had 3 of them?
Yeah, Marlene was my maid of honor, and Anne, so that was Siebert's wife, my sister-in-law, and then Kathy, Ben's youngest sister,
Yep.
Kathy,
And then who stood up for Grandpa?
his brothers, Fred, Jim. Or was it Ken? No, I think Bill was an usher. Was it Ken?
His own
Did he
brother
have-
wasn't. Oh,
Let me see once. Because I know Bill was an usher.
oh,
Here's Bill.
oh.
I think he had Ken.
Is it written down somewhere?
What was?
Well, no. Ken.
Oh yeah, Ken. Yeah,
Fred, Jim, Ken.
yeah.
Anyway, so what do you remember
So-
about that day? Was it really hot?
It was.
it nice?
I thought it was quite nice. See, we were married in First Christian Reformed Church, the old church, and then in those days, they didn't have a very nice basement. So in those days, a lot of people went to hall to the community building. That's where we had the reception in the basement.
Okay.
I think it was quite a nice day. It was quite relaxed. I remember getting my hair done in the morning. At
Was
Marge's.
it a Friday? Or
No, it was on a Wednesday because my mom didn't like a Friday wedding because to her Saturdays were for Saturday work and cleaning the house.
Oh.
And that would be way too much to get married on Friday night. And then when would you do your Saturday work if you didn't have Saturday to?
So she made
So
you
she,
get married
so
on
they
Wednesday.
got married on Wednesday,
Okay.
which yeah, I guess it's
Worked out. for you.
worked out.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in the beauty shop and kind of dozing off a little bit. And I remember the beautician said, "Oh man, you wouldn't think she's getting married tonight. She doesn't look like she doesn't look like she's nervous at all." And I guess I
Well,
really wasn't.
No,
I
you were
mean,
just like, hey.
yeah.
let's
And
get
yeah, it
married.
seemed like everything, you know, I can remember going with Mom to, let's see, who made a cake for us? Lamar's
bakery?
or something. It was somewhere she must have heard. And then, yeah, what else? Flowers. We just went to, who did our flowers anyway? Can't even remember where we got our
Someone.
flowers from. But
Do you remember what your bouquet looked like? Did you have a bouquet? Was that it? Or not
I
really?
think I did. Well, it's here.
Yeah.
See? Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Mhm,
pretty.
kind of on the.
Some
So,
type of flower.
I really can't remember right off who did the flowers.
It's not that important.
No, it isn't. I guess that's why I don't remember.
Yeah. So
And,
you're married. You teach that next year, that fall,
Mhm.
and
I
that
taught.
next year.
I
So you
taught
got married in which year? June 21, 19.
1967,
Okay.
and then I taught 2 more
67,
years, and
yeah.
then Joe was born in 69.
9. September.
So then
20.
in those days, when you had a baby, you quit teaching. You didn't keep.
Mm-hmm.
So I quit
then-
teaching in May, and she was born in September. So
Mhm.
that was real different for me, not going to school
Mhm.
when September came.
Mm-hmm. Had a baby.
So, mhm.
Named her Jill. Any special reason why Jill?
I remember us talking about names, Ben and I. I liked Jill, and somehow we thought of Lorraine sounded good with it.
Jill
Not
Lorraine.
named after anybody, just Jill
Yeah.
Lorraine.
And
so-
you had her for about what, like 14 months, and then Rick
And then Rick,
came along.
he was really Patrick Lee. I liked Patrick, I told you, because of my little boy in Peoria.
Yes.
This cute little boy who was Patrick, and I said, oh, I want my little boy named Patrick. But then when we were talking to Ben's brother, Jim, he said, I knew a Patrick, and they always called him Pat, and he didn't like that. And so that's all Ben needed to hear.
Yeah, he got really
He said, oh, no, we can't name him. We can't call him Pat. I mean, if we call him Patrick, he's going to be Pat, so we better call him Rick right away. So he got to be known as Ricky until adult when he was Rick.
Yep. So you had your two children and you were living on the corner in that small house?
Right over there, yep.
And so then when did you move here to this house?
And Heidi was born in, let's see, 70. Heidi Lou, yeah. She was born in 74? No, 73. So we moved here in 72, in October of 72, because I was pregnant with her. And Ben always liked this house. He said, someday I want to buy this house. He liked the windows, and there were many, many trees, and so that was his dream. Backyard. This was his dream, to buy this house. And so after about 5 years of renting that little house on the corner, we bought this house. And I've been here ever since. Doesn't look the same inside anyway. It's gone through about 3 different remodelings.
But I can say I remember this looking like 3 different ways, even since I was.
You first remember the red carpet?
Barely. I mostly remember the blue.
And then the blue. Yep. The blue came after the red. That was a red room. It had
red.
I
think my very first Christmas was on red carpet, right?
Yeah. And a kind of bright orangish furniture.
Yep.
And red curtains. Yeah, it was kind of gaudy.
Stylish.
Gaudy. And then we changed to blue. Now it's
a nicer, neutral 2020 version. So then after Heidi came your youngest, Carmen Lee.
Let's see. Oh, yeah. Heidi was born in January, and Carmen was born the next November. So there's... And so
you had 4 kids under 5 at some point.
Jill, they couldn't go to school till first kindergarten, till they were 5. She turned 5 in September, so she could not go to school. So she turned 5 in September, and Carmen was born in November. So I had 4.
So you had 4 little kids at home.
4 little kids at home.
Do you remember feeling overwhelmed?
I did, and yet when I look back.
And cloth diapers, right?
Cloth diapers, washed every diaper. And then she was another one who was named after my little Carmen in Peoria. The first little girl I saw was this little girl with big ponytails and little, she's on my Facebook friend yet on Facebook. Carmen Dom was her name.
Okay.
And I thought, I want to have Carmen. But Ben didn't. He wasn't real excited about that name, so that's why we had to wait a little while before we could use Carmen.
And didn't he also say, oh, shoot, when she was born, because he wanted a boy? Right?
Wanted a boy for Rick. Instead, she got another girl.
Saying that Rick was the favorite child, right?
Who?
Rick was always kind of the favorite.
No,
maybe not really in your hearts, but the way you guys showed it. Maybe.
Maybe because he was the only boy.
That's what all the girls say.
That's what the girls say. I don't know if there was anything to that, but.
Right. But you loved all your children.
I loved all my children. I did.
Which is good.
So, yes. They're all very special.
Yes, so. And they're all kind of different, too.
They are. Yes, they are.
Yeah.
They're very different.
So if I ask you to describe your children in one word,
That's hard to do.
Name one word for Jill.
Opinionated.
Oh,
action.
Yes. That's my mother. And
Just
Ben.
She's like
Ben.
She's like Ben. That's the way he was. There was no black and white. You did it. And I wasn't that way.
Yeah. And then Rick. Stubborn.
He's much stubborn. I don't know if you could really I always say.
But I didn't know him as a young kid.
I always say I think he's the most like me. I mean, I feel like we have the same kind of, I can't think of a word to describe him, but I think we're both it's hard for us to show our emotions, really. I think we don't like to share bad, if there's bad
You
things
like
that
to focus
happen,
on the positive.
yeah, focus on the. And I can see Rick. I can just see Rick having some
You
of
have a
these
lot
same.
of the same interests too.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
We've both been sports Dodger
Love the
fans,
Dodgers.
yes, and
World
camping,
Series champs 2020.
Yeah, right. And so in that way, he's always, in that way I can see, for one word that would describe him, it's a little hard to come up with one word.
Okay.
He's.
It's okay. That's probably a good
yeah.
thing you can't think of only
Yeah.
one word. So then Heidi.
Heidi is confident, very confident in what she does. She can, and also I would say she wears her emotions on her sleeve because she can be, very quick-tempered. Something doesn't, she can show that she's, but then just like that, she's over it and it's all back to normal. She's much more of a leader, I think, before she would be able to lead. She's got confidence. Being in front of a class, in front of people, she's
also a teacher.
And she's just a very,
I think she's fun too.
Yeah,
fun.
She
likes to have fun.
She likes to have fun. Yeah, she really does. She's always laughing.
She likes to play games. Like at Christmas, she likes to play games.
She likes to have fun.
She likes,
that's true. Mm-hmm.
And then Carmen.
Carmen is more, I would say she's more easygoing, more mellow. When I think of her, Heidi would get angry. I can't really think of Carmen ever being angry. She's always been much more just
laid back.
Yeah.
Which of your kids was the easiest in terms of like babies and raising and?
Maybe Carmen.
But didn't she cry a lot? Didn't she?
Well, yeah,
She had to be by you all the time.
Yeah, she didn't like to go away. Of course, you didn't like to go away either. Then look what happened to you.
Yeah, I went to the Netherlands and I came back changed.
And Heidi too. Heidi was more adventuresome, I guess.
Well, she ran away from kindergarten.
Yeah, that's right.
To come back home.
She didn't like school. Yeah, that's right. You think of her not liking school and then later on just turning around and being a teacher and being, That was kind of because in second grade too, she didn't like her teacher, which was really sad. She didn't have a very nice teacher then. So.
And which kids some of them had Grandpa as a 5th grade teacher?
The two youngest,
yes,
Heidi and Carmen. Your mom wouldn't have liked it.
Yeah, my mom.
She would have been way too embarrassed. But Heidi and Carmen both say he was their favorite teacher.
That's good.
They loved him, yeah. I think Rick too might have been a little bit embarrassed, with friends being, oh, look what your dad is doing. But they both loved him for a teacher.
Well, then your kids grew up.
Yeah, sadly.
I
think you asked a favorite time.
Yeah.
I would say those busy baby years were still my most favorite time because everything was so low-key. You didn't have to go anywhere. Kids didn't have to be any place. You could sleep. You could not sleep. You could stay up late at night. There was just no pressure to do anything. And I think they were probably the easiest years and the years that you really just really look back as wonderful years. Of course, there are a lot of wonderful years, but they were neat years.
Until you got grandchildren, then they're really fun again, right?
Then we started all over with the fun years. Yeah.
So kids grew up in 2001, right? Grandpa got sick.
It was exactly 19 years ago. The 16th of November. November 16, there was still, I see on TV when they say the record heat for that day, it was like 74, 75 degrees, kind of like we had last week, I guess. He hadn't been feeling well. He had kind of been just not. And then he got up that morning, Friday morning, November 16. He said, I'm not going to school. I have to go to the doctor. And I was kind of even a little bit, I said, are you sure? Because he never missed school, never. I said, are you sure you should miss school? I was, and then, yeah, he said, I do not feel well. And then he went and came back. Yeah, he said the doctor didn't have very good news. I have to go to the Sioux Center for a CAT scan or whatever it was. And it was this warm day. He went in just a t-shirt and shorts, and it was just such a beautiful day. And then, yeah, whatever test they had to take. And then the next morning, the doctor came to our house and
Came to your house.
yeah, he came to our house and said, yeah, the news isn't very good. You have to go to the hospital. And so right away that afternoon, we went to the hospital
In Sioux Center or Sioux Falls?
in Sioux Falls. And yeah, from then on, it was cancer treatments. And yeah, so I said it changed our life very, very quickly from, well, I think during those few weeks that he wasn't feeling good, you know, you kind of wondered, was there something wrong? But, because that was the year that Western beat Unity in volleyball for the state championship, and I had gone with Marlene up there. Ben was home, and that morning on Saturday night, he kind of, I don't know if he kind of fell and he started bleeding. And I know when I came home then later, he said, I almost called 911 because he said, and I can't even remember if it was bleeding, if it was his nose. Anyway, it was, and that's because his platelets were so low. And so that was kind of a warning. But then that was Saturday night. Sunday morning, he played organ in church, and Sunday night he played organ in church. And yeah, but then that week he wasn't feeling too well. Then that Friday is when he finally went in.
And so the cancer diagnosis, but he was able to beat it.
Yeah.
How long was that?
This was in...
So November 2001 he gets the diagnosis.
Yeah.
When does he
So
beat
then
it?
December he went to the hospital. He had chemo during those months, and then in the summer of that summer he had the what do you call that again? That's he had the but
I
when
don't
they-
know, transfusion thing.
it's this common.
I don't know.
He had his own blood cells.
Yeah.
They gave him they first collected his blood cells, and then they put him back. That's called, what is that called? It'll come, it just escaped. Escaped my, and that went so well.
And do you know how old he was at the time?
I suppose he was 61 or 62. Because when he turned 60, during that year, he also had prostate cancer. He had
I
part of
didn't
his
know
prostate.
that.
Oh yeah, he had part of his prostate removed then. Yeah, that was in 2000.
Okay.
Because then his sister Iva, when he turned 60, she had his family over for dinner that night. And then later I said to her, how come you had us over for Ben's birthday? Because I said, I don't remember that you did that for your other. Oh, she said, he had that prostate cancer. And she said, I didn't know what the future was going to be. So she said, I just thought it'd be nice to celebrate his birthday. So that was in, he was born in an even number, so it must have been in
40.
Yeah, he was born in 1940, so this was in 1990, I guess. I mean 2000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So he beat the cancer.
Yeah.
Right?
See, and then he had that stem cell transplant. Yeah, the stem cell transplant.
That's what it is.
And that went so well in the first part of August, and he went home already right away. The second day, I think they said, oh, he was a poster boy for that stem cell because he just snapped out. And then we had a really good year. He had good.
Did he go back to teaching?
No, he already retired from teaching. Retired from teaching.
Okay.
And that year was really a nice year, because that's when Mark and Heidi, of course, they were married and Micah, and we made a lot of trips to Colorado. And
he liked going to Colorado.
Yeah, he loved Colorado. I think he could have easily bought something there and moved, because we'd be there and then we'd tour these homes and, oh yeah, let's buy this one, let's buy that one. Impulsive, you know. I always think if he would have lived one of those times, he could have just bought it. But then again, probably not. But he did like Colorado. So yeah, that was a good, I said 2003 was his good year, because then he was retired. And that year he did a lot of preaching. That's when he started preaching too.
Yeah.
He did a lot of that and substitute teaching, and it was just a nice year. And then
and yeah, you had a lot of, Micah was born.
Micah and Isaac, and then Brooke was in. So three of those three grandchildren.
2004, he got sick
2004, it came back. And then it seemed like when it came back very serious. Came back when we were,
like in the summer?
That was Dutch Festival.
Tulip Festival.
Dutch Festival is Edgerton.
Yes.
Tulip Festival is Tulip Festival. We were in Orange City. We had come in the morning to take care of Brooke, and afternoon was the parade and so forth. And then he had fussed around with your mom's digging out some flowers or something. And he said, I'm so tired. He said, I'm not going to the parade. And then, yeah, we kind of laughed at him. We said, you know, Dad, he always said, if you've seen one parade, you've seen them all. He wasn't.
I disagree.
The Tulip Festival parade was not high on his list of loving things to do.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's not everyone's first love.
So he didn't go to the parade. He stayed home. And then and then by that weekend, I think then we just decided he had to go in for another checkup. So we went to Sioux Falls, and the doctor, this testing just showed, I could just tell the doctor did not like what he was seeing, and so we put him right in the hospital. That was in May. And then he had another stem cell. Then he had Jim's stem cell. But that, you know, they said the cells worked, but he got the host versus he got the disease. You know, his body rejected the stem cells, and that's what he really died of then. So the cancer was really the stem cell healed the cancer, but he died because of the infection that he got from them. And so he died in September 27, 2004.
So what gave you hope during that? What gave you hope? That was very sad. That was a very sad time.
Oh, it was. I know. I just. I
mean, he was so beloved. Both of you were, especially around here.
Yeah, he. It was hard. I was so sure he was gonna. I was so sure he was gonna be healed. I just really thought that. You know, he was going to be healed. That was what I remember so clearly one time I was praying the night, and I was just, praying, and then there was a loud crack of thunder. And I thought, oh God, that's you saying to me, don't worry, Ben's going to be healed. I just felt that was what God was telling me. But then after his death and all, then I thought, well, maybe that was God just telling me, well, I'm still here. It's not going to turn out the way you want. And, the loud crack of thunder, like, don't worry, though. It's,
never will I leave you, never will I forsake you.
Right. So that was just some of those memories that even the night before he died, I still was praying that somehow, God, you can still turn him, you can still save him. And I know he could have, but, by that time you knew that he was... And I did kind of, you think how, I never ever thought that I could live alone and do so much like I do now. I have gotten a lot more confident in a lot of things that I do, whereas otherwise he, was kind of he was a spiritual leader.
He died, fairly young, only 60.
Yeah, he was 63,
Yeah.
63.
Did you ever feel, well, I'm sure, felt kind of lonely during those times ever?
Oh yeah, I did.
Since
I
so
mean,
many of your friends and
yeah.
siblings, I mean, they still had their spouses. And
I think the worst is after I've been gone, and then I come home. I remember so clearly coming home from Hawaii. He really, that was one of his kind of dream to go to Hawaii. And so then I went, and that was kind of, he always wanted to do that. So I will go, but I remember coming home from Hawaii when coming into this dark house, it was just like, oh, Lord, here I am again, What, it was fun in Hawaii, but I wish Ben could have been there with me. And times like that, you feel kind of sorry for yourself. I think it's hard to seeing, now there's a lot of widows my age now. But when I look at couples like Ron and Marlene, and some of these couples who can just get up and do things together, I think, oh, I just wish I could do that. I wish that we could just go away for the day and go drive around and maybe or take a little vacation here and there and just together. And some say, well, go on these tours, there's these tours, bus tours, but I said, that's not quite the same as going with your husband. So those are times when sometimes maybe I feel a little bit sorry for myself and wish I could do those things too, but then I think, no, God has given me this life, and He said He will. I was
and
one
it's
of my
not
favorite.
Like you sit here doing nothing. You are quite the busy woman.
Oh no, I know I don't have time to do everything.
Even getting this scheduled, I mean, you were so busy.
I know.
For 2 years.
And I know it's some people.
Some people take
They
retirement
talk about,
and they seriously are retired and
well,
they don't
like
do
sometimes some lady the other day she said, I sleep till 8 o'clock because the days are so long. Otherwise, what do I do? And I said, I get up at 6 because I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time to get.
You're part of what, like 3 different coffee groups, a Bible study. You help ladies with English.
Yeah, and that's kind of a time-consuming job too. I correct the prison. What happened to that?
Ministry.
The prison ministries. That takes, it comes every week. Every week I have to do that, and I'm in several prayer. I go to a prayer group at church on Wednesday morning, and then I'm on Zoom prayer at 11:30 whenever we can work it out. And I mean, if I'm home 11:30, and so I'm just and I can putz. I can, you know what it is to putz. You don't really do too much.
That's not like me and my mom, but you love to putz.
Your mom doesn't putz. I do. I mean, you can get carried away. Like I was just thinking.
You'll look at a photo album for 2 hours.
Yeah, or I keep all these journals.
Yep.
And so I'm wondering, well, let's see, when did that happen? So then I take this journal out, and then of course you get carried away. You start reading, and you think, oh yeah, And some people, they could care less about what happened in the past, but.
Yeah, that's always a really cool thing. You've journaled since, how long have you journaled? Every day you just write?
Yeah, well, journal, I mean, you have to think, some people journal, and like they write down their inmost thoughts, and it's kind of, but mine is just what happens every day. It's not like I'm journaling.
Went
like
to Fairway.
Went to Fairway.
Marlene came over for
today
coffee.
Today I'll say Lauren and Joe and Jacqueline were here and took a video of me with my memories, things like that.
Yeah.
But it does help if you want to know what happened. You don't know how many times.
I know. Yeah, we've asked you to pull them out before, and you're like, let's see.
Yeah.
I remember one time I asked you, I'm like, who did you vote for in 2000?
Sure. Then I have to get it out. See, this is just the way it looks. This is this year's. This is last year's.
Yep.
And you know what I did last year on this day?
Tell me.
It's all in here. I just came back from Colorado because I had spent a week in Colorado, and because it's in here. So I did it. Started when Carmen was a baby.
You've been doing it that long. Every day.
The only days I do not have filled in are in Joshua's death. I think those days I did not fill in. I think my mom's death, there's a few blank pages. I think I could still fill in, but for some reason. And I think now Ben's, I think I did fill all of that in now. But otherwise, I started with the calendar, just the little square pieces on the squares of the calendar. I just write a couple notes. That's how I started. And now I get these little books like that.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah,
what you
it's
do.
very, and like I said, then I can just, like you were asking about basketball games. So I was thinking, I thought, let's see, what is that? What happened in that game? So it was in 2009, I think. So I go into my journal and picked out the 2009, and you know, it's what month it's in. Well, okay, look in the month of March, and there it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was your life. We kind of sped through in a little over an hour.
Are we done?
No, I have some rapid fire questions for you. So rapid fire means like, don't think too much about it, just what first comes to your mind, okay? So rapid fire favorite Bible verse.
Philippians 4, verse 7. Don't be anxious about anything, and the peace that passeth all understanding, keep your mind on the Lord Jesus Christ. And I also love 1 Corinthians 2, verse 9, I think. Eye has not seen, ear has not heard, mind can't comprehend what God has prepared for us in heaven. I love Romans 8. I love those chapters of Revelation, the new heaven and the new earth, I think. Is that Revelation 21? So.
Favorite subject in school growing up?
History.
History.
I liked history.
Me too.
Yeah.
I love history.
Yeah. I love
Specifically the
reading. Yeah.
presidents.
I love reading. I mean, I could talk about, finding things to do. I wish I'd have more time to read, because I love to read. And yeah, things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Favorite vacation you've ever been on?
I think once you said, as a child.
Yeah, as a child.
Okay,
as
a child,
and
yes.
Then
As a child, I would have to say my first ever vacation was when our family went to the Black Hills. And Hardin was just a baby. He had been born in July. We went when he was 6 weeks old, because my mom was that was her dream, to take some vacations and go to the Black Hills. Well, then she had the baby instead. And so now what do we do? Are we still going to the Black Hills? So we went to the Black Hills. So we had the 6 kids. But it was just so exciting just for me to go to another place, to stay in a motel and then see these sights, go to, and go to.
Did you ever go out to eat, or did you bring?
Oh, no. We had to have a kitchen, because Mom cooked the meals.
Okay.
Yeah, we did not go out to eat.
Do you ever remember, like, what's the first restaurant you've ever ate at? Do you remember that? Like, did you go to McDonald's ever?
I suppose we'd go to Sioux Falls to shop.
Yeah.
And then sometimes McDonald's. I remember some of these, like Shriver's, used to have this kind of a dining area up, and I can remember eating there with my mom in Sioux Falls, Sioux City. Dad liked to take us to some of these restaurants. What were they called? But they were kind of treats. But that was, and then as a parent, I think you asked that. Of course, all of our camping trips were just very enjoyable. I think that the year that we went to the East Coast, when we had to bring Rick back to Groton, he was in the Navy.
Yeah.
And that's when Carmen and Rick went along.
Boston.
Yeah, then we went to Boston, we went to New York, we went to all the Plymouth, all those colonial places, and Philadelphia. Siebert took us to New York City, and that was just I love that vacation.
Yeah.
That was,
that's on my bucket list. I want to get there. Favorite or best, most entertaining Western Christian basketball game you've ever attended? If you've attended so many.
That would
it's
be
like your thing.
Oh yes, I mean, I could say, first of all, the worst disappointments probably the worst one was in 1989 when Rick was a senior, when we were playing in this championship game and had a 2-point lead over Council Bluffs St. Albert, and a couple seconds left to call timeout. Council Bluffs St. Albert guy came in and shot a 3-pointer.
Game over.
Oh, it was devastating. And let's see, there was one more that was a real heartbreak. Maybe when we lost in double overtime to Solon. That wasn't too many years ago. Most exciting win? You know, the first time he won state championship was in 1985. That was exciting because the kids were so excited to go. Because that's when we stayed in a. That's when we stayed in a motel with the kids for the first time.
Yes.
Yes, and that was exciting. The games weren't that exciting because we won by so far. I mean, it wasn't like.
But the
It's just
experience.
the experience of winning.
Yep.
And probably the most exciting, win, well, there's been lots of them, but just not too many years ago over Sioux Center when we were not supposed to win and came back 14 points behind and won that game, and the kids were quite a bit younger and then went on to win the state tournament, so that was fun. But I've been to so many that it's hard to name one really favorite. But there was some really heartbreaking, lots of heartbreaking ones, but lots of exciting ones too. And for some reason, you know, Ben, he really took to Western basketball.
Yeah,
you know, he wasn't a graduate. He wasn't a graduate of Western, but somehow he got to be. And so we went to every, you know, and when the
And wouldn't you bring like your own snacks and
Oh
stuff?
yeah. When the kids were little, that was our entertainment. We would go to basketball games. Ben would get free passes. They gave passes to the teachers, and so we would take the little kids to the basketball game and carry our snacks along. And it was a cheap entertainment because we were kind of poor, and so they were just. So he got to be a very, very loyal Western fan. So, and you know, our kids were in high school, we went to state every year. Volleyball,
Must be
Western.
nice.
So and everybody knew we would go, so they could ride along with us, and we'd be their chaperones, and yeah.
As a Unity grad.
They were fun.
As a Unity grad, I lost to Western every single year
I know.
in the sub-state.
I know.
But it's okay.
Yeah, that's.
You cheered, when you're kids, you never had any grandchildren attend Western.
No, I know it. I said that. I said I feel
But
bad
yet you're
about
still
that.
so connected. So that's cool.
I know. I still keep track of what happens, and still, I don't go to programs so much because, and basketball, Joe Dirksen and I always went, but now I guess we said
Yeah, probably the
this year's
first year
going to
you
be
might.
different, so we probably won't get to any games this year. But yeah, they did cause lots and lots of excitement during the years.
All right.
Next question.
Next question. Final question. Should be really easy. Your favorite grandchild.
I have
You
10
have
favorite
10.
grandchildren, 10 favorite grandchildren, and each one is my favorite one. They're all different. I will say you are very special because you're Josh would really be the oldest, but you are the oldest, and so you have a very special place.
I have the record for most Christmas presents.
Yes, you do. And Matthew. I always say you and
We have
Matthew.
piles of
You and
Christmas
Matthew
presents.
are very special because you were the
Yes.
only two for quite a few years. And yes, I remember when we'd have Christmas, and I'd say to Carmen and Heidi, I said, remember when you have kids someday, I don't know if you're going to get so many back. But yeah, you were a loved
Yes.
little girl. Heidi, when Heidi came back from Costa Rica after she had been there a semester, when she was in Dort, she was so eager to see Jacqueline. We had to make a trip. We had to travel to Michigan right after she got home. So she had to see Jacqueline. Yeah, you were their baby.
I know.
And then Matt too was fun. So, but the others are all. But
The
I
others
think
are
because you were the two oldest, and for quite a few years you were the only two, you did get a lot
And
of
we
special
remember-
attention.
Like yeah, you took care of us. We did camping trips with Grandpa and Grandma in Yankton, and those were fun.
Yeah.
And now your
Yeah.
grandchildren are all growing up.
I know. Aaliyah's going to be 11,
Yeah,
the youngest. She's going to be 11 in a few weeks, December. So I don't have any married yet. So who's going to be the first, you or Matt?
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. No rush. I mean,
No.
that's okay. Whenever.
Whenever.
Don't rush into it.
No. All right.
So
Well, this has been really fun.
I hope so. It was quite easy. I hope we
It was
didn't.
good. Thank you for
I hope we
agreeing
did-
to this.
I hope we didn't leave out anything really important. Did you kind of get through the?
I did. I got through my list, and you talked. You talked even more than I thought you would.
How long did it take?
An hour and a half. Almost.
Oh man, 4 o'clock.
Yes.
We have church at 5. I'll probably.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'll probably listen on TV tonight, or maybe not go.
Well.
That's okay. We start at 5 now.
Yeah, you said that.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Grandma. We love you so much. We love you, Mom and Grandma. And I just wanted to share a passage from Proverbs 31 because you have always been the Proverbs 31 woman to all of us. Her children arise and call her blessed. Her husband also, as he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Happy birthday.
We love you.
Happy 80th birthday, Grandma. We love you.
Happy 80th birthday. We love you.
Happy 80th birthday, Grandma. We love you.
Happy 80th birthday, Grandma. Your love for the Lord and family is very inspiring, and I cannot wait to celebrate with you soon. Go Dodgers.
Happy birthday. 80 years old. Who would have ever thought I'd be wishing my sister happy 80th birthday. I've been tagging along with you for a lot of years, 75. We agree we're very different, but we're two peas in a pod, but as different as day and night. Maybe that's why we get along so well. So, happy birthday. Love ya. Enjoy lots of years with your family and with the rest of us.